From Little League to the big leagues and everywhere in between. From one stage to another, passion is my middle name. I'm J.J. Davis. This is In Focus. Me and this guy go way back. CU Sports Complex, College World Series, remember it?
Yes. Charles
Schwab Field, dugout. Then later, as the handheld, I'd get pictures of him at home plate. A lot of memories. Joining me right now, forever in the third base box, is Creighton University baseball coach Ed Servais. I get that right?
Yes, you did. Good to be with you.
It's been more than a cup of coffee, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. Yeah, we've been together for a while.
Yes, we have. Now, say it ain't so. This is it for you?
Yes, it is. This will be my 28th year at Creighton, 22 as the head coach. And, I need to slow down a little bit. I need to look at some other things. I have 6 grandkids I need to spend some time with. So my wife's been retired for about 3 years. So I need to spend some time with her. So it's a good time.
How many times did we talk about that pregame at Creighton baseball games, and I'm carrying the camera, and you and I are talking about that?
Quite often, because you'd catch me at a tired time of the season, middle part of the year.
Yeah.
When you're tired, you're fatigued, and you're wondering, can you do this? Can you get to the finish line?
Right.
But it's a good time. We got a good group of guys, and it'll be time.
All right, what a time for you. I take you back to 1982. And does the name Rib Lake High School mean anything?
Yes, it does. It's my first teaching job. My degree was in education coming out of University of Wisconsin La Crosse. And, when you're 22, 23 years old, you're bright-eyed, you're excited,
Right.
to get an opportunity. Teaching jobs were hard to come by back in those days. So I started at a school of about 220 kids, a town of about 600.
Oh, my God.
And I was the assistant football coach, the freshman basketball coach, and the head baseball coach. And JJ, we had 11 players on the team. Oh, this is for the whole program. We didn't have a JV. We didn't have a JV or a freshman team. We had 11 players on the team my first year there.
Head coach, 2 seasons, 24-11 with 11 guys?
Yes, and 6 of them were freshmen. So I thought we did some good things, but I knew that Rib Lake was not a place for me to be very long.
Right.
It was just tough. The weather up there was in northern Wisconsin. The weather was very difficult. The kids were fine, but I had an itch to do something more.
Now, you talked about the University of Wisconsin at La Crosse.
Mm-hmm.
You graduated 1980, 3-time All-Conference, MVP, co-captain, et cetera, et cetera. What position?
I played second base.
Second base!
That's why I'm so fond of infielders. I enjoy working with infielders, and I know the difficulty of being a good infielder, but we tried to play second base during those years.
Did the pros come calling, or did you think, like every kid, I could play in the big leagues?
Oh, sure. That was my dream, obviously. My brother was a college player who had got drafted and played in the Padre organization. He later went on to become a scout for about 40 years. So this is what we did. I have 7 brothers, JJ. So this is what we did in the backyard. This is what we did. We didn't have a lot of other things. So that was your dream, to have a chance to play professionally.
Back in those days, as you remember, it was big to be a 3-sport athlete.
Mm-hmm.
It was always football, basketball, and baseball. What about you?
Sure. In high school, I enjoyed them all. I really, really enjoy football. I enjoy everything that goes along with football, the toughness part of it, the preparation, the scheming. I really, really enjoy football. And sometimes I wonder, should I have been a football coach versus a baseball coach? Because sometimes my intensity on the baseball field can scare some young people.
I've seen it firsthand, trust me.
Yeah, I, like most young people at that time, I participated in all 3 sports in high school, and I went to a private high school in La Crosse, Wisconsin, where I'm born and raised, and and really had a lot of fun. And I was like any other young person. When it was that season, that was my favorite sport.
Right. Now everything's so specialized, and you always hear coaches say they should be playing 3 sports like we did in the old days.
Yeah. No, I love to recruit multi-sport athletes, and some of the best players we've had at Creighton University have been multi-sport athletes.
Your first coaching job, assistant coach, St. Mary's, Winona.
Yeah, when I came back from Rib Lake, like I said, I thought I had an itch to maybe work with a more advanced elite player. So I got a job. I saw an ad in a newspaper. Can you believe that? Ads were in a newspaper back in those days. For an assistant job at St. Mary's. My older brother played at St. Mary's, so I had some kind of a feel and connection for the university. And it was 25 miles from La Crosse. And I went up there and interviewed for it and was offered the job, and I made $1,000 as the assistant baseball coach at St. Mary's. And I spent more money traveling to the school than I actually got paid. So I did that for a couple years, but what it taught me was this is what I really wanted to do.
And what you really wanted to do eventually was become a head coach. Tell the folks the name of the college, your first head coaching gig.
Well, I went back and got my master's degree, so I really didn't have a job. And I had 2 young kids, and so we needed to get going with something. And in my hometown, La Crosse, Wisconsin, there was a small private school of about 800 kids that did not have baseball.
Correct.
So I walked into the athletic director's office in the middle of the summer and said, I understand you're thinking about adding baseball. They only had about 100 male students on campus.
Rib Lake all over again.
So he said, well, you know what? That's interesting because we are thinking about it. Let me get back to you.
The name of the college?
Viterbo College. It's now Viterbo University in La Crosse. And within a couple days, he called me back. And I took that job with nothing. We didn't have a baseball. We didn't have a field. We didn't have a uniform. We didn't have a helmet for $1,300.
And so, you're there. 1 year, you go 23-6.
Yep. We didn't have, my first year I was there, we were just gathering players because there was no baseball players on campus. And the following year, which was my only year there, maybe the most enjoyment I had in coaching.
Isn't that funny?
Because we had 17 players.
Isn't that funny how it works?
And the guys worked unbelievably hard, and we were 23-6.
But then old St. Mary's comes to call in. They're looking for a head coach now, so he goes back. A winning percentage over 600, 686, I think.
Yeah, we went back to St. Mary's because they were in a conference. Viterbo was not in a conference. And they had established there was some tradition there. So I went back, and it was rough sledding the first year. We were 13, 22, and 1. It's one of the few times I've had a record
losing
below
season.
500.
That's right.
And I had to make some adjustments. And this is where I became I really started to emphasize the defensive part of the game. With the same team the next year, we went 28-7. So it was just a different philosophy on my part, but I really learned a lot those first couple years at St. Mary's. And then we went on to stay there for 7 years.
7 years. Then you make the jump to D1.
Got an opportunity, you know, the Iowa State had baseball at that time, and their head coach, Bobby Randall, left in November to take the head job at Kansas. So the pitching coach became the head coach, and they needed an assistant. And I heard about it. I applied, went down and interviewed. I'll never forget the interview riding down to Ames, Iowa on a day when it was icy and sleet. And I probably shouldn't have been on the highway.
I've done that
But
before.
I wanted to get there because I didn't want this opportunity to slip by.
Because we're driven, Ed. We're driven. I've been there.
And I had an interview with Lyle Smith, and 2 or 3 days later, he offered me the job. Now, it was really difficult because it was midstream. My first day at the job at Iowa State was December 27th. So the players had already gone through fall ball. I didn't know a player on the team. I didn't know anything about Ames, knew very little bit about Iowa State. And I went down there myself. I left the family behind. And here we go. You know,
That's right.
different level at the Division I level where they had scholarships, where they had a lot more publicity, a lot more expectations than my days at St. Mary's.
Next thing you know, 98, 2003, you're with Jack Dahm at Creighton.
Yeah, Jack called me up. I was at Iowa State for a year and a half, and Jack said, hey, I have an opening. Jack was roommates with my nephew Scott when they played at Creighton. So there was a little bit of connection there. I did not know Jack. I heard about Jack through Scott. Jack called me up and said, hey, this is what I have. And I said, Jack, why don't we get together? So I came to Omaha. We actually played a round of golf, and we got to know each other a little bit more. And then within a couple days, he offered me the job.
Along the way, up through the experience with Jack at Creighton, did you evolve as a head coach more with the X's and O's, so to speak, or?
Well, Jack allowed me to do a lot. I really learned a lot during my days at Creighton with Jack. And I never came to Creighton with any illusion that I'd ever be the head coach. I thought I would work with Jack for 2 or 3 years and then possibly get a Division II job. My goal was to get a job where I had some resources to offer a player to come.
Right.
Never, ever did I think that, hey, I'm going to stay here long enough and I'm going to jump into another Division I job or eventually become the head coach at Creighton if Jack were to get another job. It never crossed my mind. I was focused on what I could do with the current team and the recruiting component, which is different. So I really enjoyed learning a lot about the recruiting at the Division I level. And then with the hope that maybe 2 or 3 years, I would go and get a Division II job.
But as we all know, sometimes fate intervenes. You get the head coaching job 2003. Your first season, the Jays lead the nation in fielding percentage because you're a defensive guy, .982 fielding percentage. Have done it 2 other times. You also mentioned about your head coaching resume. 25 teams over 500, less than 5 in your head coaching career. What does that say about you?
Well, I think the system that we have in place works, and the system is built on discipline, hard work, execution. It sometimes takes our players some time to get accustomed to it.
Correct.
Because it's different.
Correct.
It's really different. I didn't set out to be different just to be different. I just thought with the players and the personnel we had, that this gave us the best chance to be successful. And it's worked.
So if I'm talking to Gene Stevenson or Dave Van Horn at Arkansas, what would they say about Ed Servais?
His teams are going to play hard. They're not going to make a lot of mistakes. They're not going to beat themselves. You're going to have to beat them. They may be a little bit undersized at times. They may not maybe have the physicality of some of the larger schools, but they can execute the game. They can play the game. As far as me, they know I'm kind of a straight shooter. I don't like to socialize a lot with coaches before the game.
That's right.
And I'm going to welcome you if you're playing at our place. Is there anything we can do for you?
Yes.
I'll shake your hand after the game.
That's about it. I can't tell you how many times I was shooting at home plate, just going over the ground rules. He's done it 100 times in his sleep. Quickly, your wife, Ann. How many times did I go up the aisle and see Ann sitting there and we would talk? She's been wonderful. She's been by your side since the beginning.
Yeah, I don't think we could have done anything without her. Very supportive. Coaches, it's an up and down situation.
Just like broadcasters.
You have your moments where it's good.
That's right.
You have moments where you feel like you got kicked in the stomach.
That's right.
And she put up with a lot. She was a full-time teacher and then raising our 3 kids. She did a lot while I went out and tried to do what I thought I could do in the coaching profession. She's helped with a couple of moves that we've made.
We're lucky, Ed. We're lucky. We're lucky. My wife packed her house by herself when I came out to Omaha a month early.
It's tough. Those transition periods are really tough on a family. And she did a marvelous job making sure the kids got adjusted to whether it be their new schools or friendships, getting involved with activities. So yeah, she deserves a ton of credit. And hopefully I'll be able to pay her back here with some more time after retirement.
It's coming. Say it ain't so, Ed. He's stepping down. Listen, I want to thank you for joining me today.
You bet.
Ed Servais, head baseball coach at Creighton University. Coming up next, a songbird from Cougar Country when we come back. Full disclosure, I did not know this woman until I most recently did a play with her. And I can't tell you how many times we would pass under the stage and I would pay her homage. She is truly one of the best singers in Omaha, a true songbird. So joining me right now, stage right as we say, is the Gross Catholic High School graduate, Lauren Krupski.
Hi. I didn't know you knew my high school.
Well, I kind of do my job.
Yeah.
It's kind of my job. Now, you have been busy lately.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
Well, I just got back from Detroit, actually. I was with their symphony there. Their principal pops conductor, Enrico, used to work for the Omaha Symphony.
Oh.
And we did a bunch of sort of educational family concerts when he was here in town. And we worked really well together. And pre-COVID, we did a bunch of shows that he wrote, Florida, New York, Ohio. And then I got a call about 3 weeks ago from his manager saying that if I'm interested in heading to Detroit. So I did. We spent a week there.
And before then, Alexandria, Virginia,
And
my
then-
old stomping grounds, the
Yeah.
Commonwealth.
Yeah, no, I hadn't done that gig since pre-COVID, so it'd been about 5-6 years, but it's like riding a horse.
So your name's getting around.
Yeah, good ways.
Doesn't
I
that
hope.
make you feel good, Lauren?
Yeah, I mean, it's good, but it's weird too. I was recognized in a Bath and Body Works the other day. I was with my best friend shopping for body wash or something, and this woman just goes, "Excuse me, were you just at the Holland on stage?" And I was like,
right.
"Yep, I was." So my reputation precedes
All
me.
right, but what about the reputation as a little girl? Were you always singing?
Yeah. Ask my mom and dad, but yeah. The Little Mermaid came out at just the perfect age for me, the cartoon version. And so you could find me any day of the week sitting on the piano bench, belting out Part of Your World. So,
Did
yes.
you take voice lessons or did it just come natural to you?
Honestly, I didn't take voice lessons when I was younger. I did do like choir and things like that in school, but one-on-one voice coaching, not until I was in my adult years. So it came sort of naturally. My mom always says it's from my grandfather's mother. So her father, it sort of skipped a few generations, but
right.
It's always been, where did that come from?
So
I don't know.
when did you know that you wanted to be a theater kid or that you wanted to perform?
Oh gosh. Well, when I was very young, the Emmy Gifford Theater, which was sort of the precursor to the Rose, for those that don't know, my dad would get free tickets from work, and he would take me, always me, sometimes my sister and brother too if they were interested, but I would go to every single one that I possibly could, and I was so young that I didn't quite understand why this was so special.
Right.
But I did that, and then my mom taught at Gross High School, and she would take me with her to see her students in the musicals there, and then my mom is responsible for introducing me to all the big movie musicals that were on Turner Classic Movies, like The Sound of Music.
TCM, baby.
Exactly.
That's
I
right.
grew up on that and watching The Music Man and My Fair Lady. So I never really could put into words how I felt about it, but I just knew that it filled something in me.
I tell people that all the time. You can't explain it. When
Yeah.
It happens. Even when you get done, a couple of weeks later, the bug just kind of hits you and you just got to do it again.
Yeah.
First time performing in front of people singing.
Oh gosh. My father has on VHS a video of me in kindergarten. I think it was either first grade or kindergarten, but I had the solo in Up on the Housetop. And I was ready for my moment, and we still have the video of it.
Do you ever get nervous? Because the show that I just did with you, I would just be amazed. You ever get nervous? Not to plant that in your mind.
No. I mean, I'd be lying if I said no. But I feel like with how many years I've been doing this now, it's a combination of nervousness and wanting to do your best. because sometimes the nerves kick in and maybe your breathing gets funny and you don't sing as well as you know you can.
Right.
So it's a mixture of excitement, but also nerves, because you know when you go into that audition or you step out on stage, this is your chance to show a bunch of people who you are,
That's
which
exactly
is a daunting task.
It is a daunting task.
Yeah.
Trust me. So you go to Cuckoo Country, gross Catholic, theater there, what'd you learn?
Oh gosh, we did a lot of musicals when I was there. I had 2 different drama teachers, one phased out when another phased in. I had the lead in The Music Man my sophomore year, so I was 15 playing Marion. Mm-hmm.
The librarian.
Yeah, Marion the librarian, and all the senior girls were pretty plucked about it. Yeah, and I was like, sorry, girls. But it's a role that I've always wanted to play in my adulthood, because what did 15-year-old Lauren know about that role?
Exactly.
But I learned a lot there. It was Catholic high school theater department, so not a lot of funding, not a lot of fancy stage anything.
Right.
So it was a lot of make do with what you got.
Right.
And it was a lot of fun.
You made do with what you got. What UNO graduated 2008, magna cum laude, as they like to say. What did you take away from Mavericks?
It was another kind of program that it was, you get out what you put into it.
Right.
They definitely prepare you for the struggle. If that, I don't know if that sounds bad or not, but it's like one of the things I learned post-grad, living in New York, doing the whole audition scene. If you don't have that hustle mentality, you're gonna be given nothing on a silver platter.
You talk about the struggle.
Yeah.
I lived in Midtown Manhattan many years ago.
Yeah.
You went there 2009 in the summer.
Yeah.
Times Square you worked.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, I moved there.
You gave it a shot.
I did, because that's what you do.
Yes.
And I had a friend who had a contract out of state and was like, hey, I need a sublet if you hate it here, because I'd never even visited New York City.
Right.
And he's like, if you hate it here, 2 months, you're done, you're back home. And so I was like, you know what? Why the heck not?
But you lasted just over a year.
Just over a year,
and
yeah.
she was awarded the Lucy's Legacy Award from her then employer.
Wow.
For going above and beyond. But you said just basically I could walk on 2 feet because everybody was walking around on 4.
Wow. You did do your homework.
Well, that's kind of my job.
Wow.
What do you mean by that?
Oh, well, I when I lived in New York, I lived in Queens, in Astoria. I worked in Manhattan at this museum, and it was full of young 20-somethings like myself, auditioning, working. Aspiring. And we had a bunch of different exhibits flow through. It was the Titanic artifacts, Lucy, which is the artifacts of a bipedal hominid, one of the bipedal hominid, which is one of the most early common ancestors of humans. I've learned so much like unnecessary information just by.
What made you say, you know, I'm giving it my best shot. See ya.
Well, to get real with you, I missed home, and I had a former love back here in Omaha. Yeah.
We all got those stories.
Oh yeah, and so I was 24.
Yes.
What did 24-year-old Lauren know? She came back to Omaha to be with her man. We got married. Not married anymore, but I don't regret that decision.
Now, you didn't have to tell me that.
Oh, I don't care. I'm an open book.
All right.
For better or for worse, I guess.
Speaking of open books, she comes back to Omaha. At last count, you've done 14 shows. 14, starting with the fantastic Mr. Fox at the Rose in 2011. 14 shows.
It's 25, actually.
25
Yeah.
at the Rose?
Uh-huh.
At the Rose?
Yeah. Well, I guess if you want to be technical, it's not that many, because I've done The Cat in the Hat twice. I've done Elf twice, and something else twice. I don't know.
That's okay.
But if you want to be technical,
That's right.
Oh, Christmas Story.
Right.
I've done Christmas Story twice.
Yeah.
So
that's right. You did it 10 years ago,
I did
too.
it 10 years ago. Yep.
Are you a belter
No.
or a singer?
Gosh, I am a good mixer. I can mix with the best of them. I have my moments of belting in my range that fit real nice, but I am no belting songstress. I am, how I basically learned to sing was by mimicking Julie Andrews. So, so anything that is sort of in that vein is right up my alley.
What's first for you? Singer, actor?
Singer. But I have been known to act.
I've seen it
as
firsthand,
well.
trust me. I've seen it firsthand. She can act.
Yeah.
So when you look at all you've been through already, because you're still very, very young, what would you say to that young Lauren coming up?
Oh, gosh. Well,
Thank you.
yeah.
Now, next.
No, I remember young Lauren thinking Broadway is everything. Broadway, New York,
That's
everything.
what I thought.
Yeah, and she is not wrong, but my favorite phrase is more than one thing can be true. And going to New York and doing that whole thing really gave me some perspective on how many other people are there.
That's exactly
who are just as talented as you.
Amen.
Who look just like you.
Amen. Even better.
Exactly. Who are less talented maybe.
Yes.
But it's, when you're a non-equity actor doing the cattle calls, it's a crapshoot. And coming back to Omaha and now being based out of Omaha and going to different places, my goal back to young Lauren was Broadway. But now older Lauren has said to herself, it's more about being a paid working actor. And that's what I've continued to do.
But don't you feel like right now at this point in your life, you seem to me, at least the little time that I've known you, to be a little bit more at peace, and things are happening for you. Life is happening.
Yeah, it's all part of the getting older process. I mean, obviously when you're younger, roles you don't get or shows you don't get are just devastating.
And even then, if you'd have got them, you wouldn't have been ready for them anyway.
Right. And so now that I'm older with more experience,
Right.
Yes, if I don't get something, I'll be, I'll let myself be sad about it, but it's not the end of the world. I've found a good balance of the theater excitement with sort of quote unquote normal life.
The key word for me is balance. 'Cause for many years I was like this, gotta make it, gotta make it, gotta make it. Then you realize, smell the roses. You found balance.
Yeah, and it's, if there's somebody out there who produces Broadway shows, yes, I'd love to do that. But it's not the end all and be all.
It's not life and death, is
No, it's not. And I honestly would take where I am right now with the good office job that I have. Shout out Koenig Dunn. My lovely little house in Exarban.
And Jean.
And Jean, my sweet little dog. If I was to say anything to younger Lauren, just to say, keep going.
Right.
You've got nowhere to go but up, and a bunch of family and friends who support you. And Omaha's theater community is very welcoming and very supportive. But go explore.
Right. That's what I tell you.
Yeah.
Go for it. Because you know what I found in life? You only get one shot.
It's true.
I want to thank you for coming on my show today.
Yeah.
And thank you for being so open.
Of course.
And as you can see, joining me right now, Lauren Krupski, before coach of the Creighton Blue Jays, Ed Servais. I want to thank you for joining us on the latest edition of In Focus. And as always, I'll see you around town.